The appearance of the mage you describe sounds like one I met back in Tristram. Many Vizjerei came to fight against Diablo, the Lord of Terror. Perhaps this is one of them. You know, fate seems to have frowned upon all of the heroes who confronted that terrible evil. Take care, or the same may happen to you.
Fans of the Diablo series are already intimately familiar with the Sorcerer class in Diablo 1, and the character's subsequent fall by the events of Diablo 2. However, an ongoing mystery was how such a powerful and stalwart defender of the light was tragically corrupted. And why was he sent on a pilgrimage to Tristram during the Lord of Terror's occupation? To ask and answer these questions, we must go back to the beginning. So here is the untold truth of the tragic rise and fall of the Sorcerer from Diablo 1.
The sign that my moment had come. I will go west to Tristram to stop the darkness and fulfill the destiny that beckons me.
To understand why the Sorcerer, also known as Jazrith, was sent by his mage contemporaries to the town of Tristram, we must first explore his allegiance to the Vizjerei mage clan and their own nefarious origins, which directly relates to Diablo and his brother's subsequent occupation of Sanctuary and to the story and events of Diablo 1. The Vizjerei were the dominant of mage clans to form over 3,000 years before the Darkening of Tristram. The difference between mage clans beyond doctrine can also generally be broken up into schools of magics which they utilized. For example, wizards are known to tap into the raw arcane power. Necromancers utilize, among others, blood magic, and the Vizjerei are largely known for their adept utilization of elemental magics. But it wasn't always so. Rise of the Summoners. The Vizjerei were convinced that spirits dwelled on and beyond Sanctuary. While the clan's sorcerers could not directly commune with these entities, they believed contact was possible. Thus, the driving goal of the Vizjerei became to perfect the arts of conjuring and summoning spirits. In the year -1992, an unremarkable sorcerer named Jerry Harash succeeded where his fellows had failed. Reaching out, his heart roiling with anger and rage at the recent loss of his family, he made contact with one of these spirits. Yet, it was no such creature, but rather a demon of pure hate and malice. Whether the Vizjerei knew from the outset what this creature was is unclear, but soon, if not immediately, they realized that this was not some ancestral spirit. So they worked feverishly to mask the truth of what had happened. The Vizjerei then set about quickly perfecting this dark art, establishing demonology and the enslavement of Hell's minions as their basis of power. So successful were they in their summoning of these spirits that the Vizjerei earned the moniker of the Spirit Clan. They grew confident that if they could control one demon, they could control others. And their sorcerers set about summoning more and more demons into Sanctuary for short periods. While the clan had no intention of using the demons as weapons, their mages concluded that there was much to be learned from these creatures about the universe and new forms of magic. Unfortunately, this was a two-way street, as the demons then reported to their dark masters back in hell of their findings. The Vizjerei's actions had unwittingly directly led to Hell's discovery of Sanctuary and ultimately drawing the ire of the burning hells and then the heavens alike in the Sin War.
You have just ensured the doom of this world. You cannot even begin to imagine what you've set in motion this day.
After the Sin War's conclusion with Heaven and Hell ceded from Sanctuary once more, the Mage clans reasserted the control they once had over the East. Taking heed of the events, the mage clans Ennead and Amuet declared that no mage clan would ever summon another demon into Sanctuary, and at some point in this period, the Vizjerei established military outposts and possibly temples in Aranok. The city of Lutgo Lane was built on one such Vizjerei fortress, as well as the city of Vizjun.
Horazon was insane. There are forces with which one does not interfere. It would not surprise me if you found only the charred remains of this damned fool.
The Mage Clan Wars. In the year -264, the truth of the Vizjerei's now practicing summoning again became known to the other Mage clans. Unfortunately, this sparked the Mage Clan Wars, where hundreds of thousands died as the Mage clans vied for the upper hand. After 7 years of bloody war, the Vizjerei were hopelessly outnumbered and on the verge of defeat. Thus, they played their trump card, the summoning of demons. In an instant, the tide turned as the creatures of the burning hells cut their way through the Ennead and Amuet ranks, allowing the Vizjerei to drive their forces all the way back to the city of Vizjun. Although the Vizjerei were willing to utilize demons to achieve their goals, differences of opinions existed as to how this would be carried out. Notably, the siblings Horazon and Bartuc, both Vizjerei mages, exemplified this. Horazon believed that while demons were a great source of power, they had to be bent to one's will. The process of breaking a demon's will was a great delight to Horazon. In contrast, Bartuc grew to sympathize with demons. With no small amount of influence from them, he believed that demonkind would be best understood through an outright alliance with them, so their secrets could be shared freely. Unfortunately, Hell was playing both of the brothers for fools, which they found out too late. Bartuc and Horazon then turned on each other in a now legendary final showdown that leveled the entire city of Vizjun, leaving hundreds of thousands dead, including Bartuc.
Tales abound that the mad wizard Horazon somehow trapped the lieutenants of these two lords of hell within his sanctum. There can be no more dangerous a path to tread than the one that falls alongside of demons. Should you also seek this path, watch your life and your soul very carefully, my friend.
Aftermath. The grieving Horazon was aware that as long as the agents of the burning hells had access to Sanctuary, the corruptions of hearts and civilizations would never cease. Following the battle, he crafted himself an Arcane Sanctuary, a place where the agents of hell could never find him, and continued to dominate demons at will.
It seems that I may have brought something to this plane that even I cannot control. The creature that fell into my astral trap is a very deadly demon. I have been able to bind it at the bottom of a pit, but it kills everything that I have sent there in attempts to defeat it. While it cannot escape, it does block the tunnels that lead to my protected haven. I am tempted to use the switch to open the tunnels to see if it will just leave, but I fear it is smarter than most of the lesser demons I have trapped before. If I could just lure it somewhere else.
Now, although Horazon's fate remains unclear, 3,000 plus years in the future, in the cut quest for Diablo 1, during the Darkening of Tristram, the player can actually enter Horazon's Arcane Sanctuary and kill him with his demons unleashed. But that is not actually canon to the story. However, the Arcane Sanctuary will come back around, so it is an important tidbit. For the part of the wars, the Vizjerei resolved to forevermore spurn demonic magic finally, and instead, they focused their remaining energies on studying elemental magic, going a step further to ensure that a tragedy of this magnitude would never be repeated. The Vizjarktar were formed, an order of mage slayers known in Diablo 2 as the Order of Assassins.
The sanctity of this place has been fouled.
Darkening of Tristram. Fast forward to the events of Diablo 1, known colloquially as the Darkening of Tristram. It was there Jazrith the Sorcerer, among other Vizjerei, were sent to investigate the demons taking over the countryside, perhaps as atonement for their sins, but according to the Book of Cain, Jazrith personally also had an interest in discovering lost tomes and magical artifacts that might be hidden away in the labyrinth beneath the cathedral. Now eventually Jazrith, with the aid of his new companions, the warrior and rogue, reached the source of the horror in the labyrinth's darkest depths, Diablo, the Lord of Terror. And after a mighty battle, the demon was felled. Although they were victorious, unfortunately, like his companions, Jazrith's moment of triumph was not long-lived.
The Soul Stone burns with hellfire as an eerie red glow blurs your vision. Fresh blood flows into your eyes, and you begin to hear the tormented whispers of the damned. You have done what you knew must be done. The essence of Diablo is contained. For now. You pray that you have become strong enough to contain the demon and keep him at bay. Although you have been fortified by your quest, you can still feel him, clawing his way up from the dark recesses of your soul. Fighting to retain control, your thoughts turn toward the ancient mystic lands of the Far East. Perhaps there, beyond the desolate wastes of Aranok, you will find an answer. Or perhaps salvation.
The tragic fate of the trio of heroes who faced and felled Diablo beneath the cathedral is further explored in the sequel, Diablo 2. Unfortunately, it seems that killing the Lord of Terror was just the beginning of their woes, being marked personally by Diablo's corruptive grasp. Confronting the Lord of Terror meant that they were already doomed, winning the battle against Diablo, yet ultimately losing the war. Most prominent, of course, is the story of the warrior, who later became the Dark Wanderer. A reward for his efforts in containing Diablo within himself, he would later then become the embodiment of the Lord of Terror, and is directly responsible for the ills that the heroes encounter during the events of Diablo 2. Also, in Diablo's aid to free his brothers outside the greater and lesser evils, he called upon many familiar faces again, most notably the poor inhabitants of the town of Tristram, not granted any type of peace for their woes or even the sweet release of death. We see the town in shambles, and Griswold, the former blacksmith, cursed by Andariel herself personally to guard the town of intruders. The warrior, strong and proud in his attempts to save the people of Tristram, became what he had sheltered them from, the Lord of Terror, and in his wake, they were slaughtered nonetheless. The rogue, becoming Bloodraven, returning to her homeland in search of powers to protect her clan of rogues, but instead was manipulated by Andariel to become her personal patron. It's there we find her in a graveyard, raising and corrupting her own brethren to serve the lesser evil, and then slaughtering her sisters of the Sightless Eye, lost completely to the evils that claimed her.
Rest in peace, sister.
It is said, when facing the Lord of Terror, he would force his victims to relive their greatest nightmares. But it seems after his defeat in Diablo 1, he then forced the heroes to live them as they became his minions, a reward for their actions. But as the Lord of Destruction Baal will tell you, no good deed goes unrewarded. But what did the corruption of Diablo impart for the sorcerer Jazrith? And what were his greatest fears that he, in turn, was forced to live?
Baal. No.
You have done well, Marius. Now I think you shall have your reward.
Nearly 1,000 years ago, Horazon rose to the fore of the Vizjerei mage clan. Horazon used the knowledge of the Vizjerei to summon and control demons from hell. Though a powerful summoner, Horazon feared that the lords of hell would punish him for enslaving their brethren. Thus, the summoner created for himself an arcane sanctuary. He believed that his sanctuary would not only protect him from hell's vengeance, but also allow him to continue his studies free from the ravages of time and disease. The Arcane Sanctuary was believed to have been constructed here, in Lutgolain. An entrance may be hidden somewhere in the palace, as that building is very old and was once a Vizjerei fortress.
When in search of Talrash's tomb, the heroes of Diablo 2 are tasked with finding an artifact that reveals its location, hidden away in the very arcane sanctuary that Horazon had inhabited. Although we were not the only individuals looking for the Mad Summoner's location. For whatever reason, perhaps to learn how to contain demons and the corruption of Diablo, aiding the warrior, now the Dark Wanderer, before he is turned into the Lord of Terror. Or perhaps the corruption of Diablo himself has taken hold. But it was Jazrith, the Sorcerer, who sought out the Arcane Sanctuary prior to our arrival at Lutgolain.
There was an Eastern mage, a Vizjerei, I believe, who visited me almost a year ago. He was very interested in the history of this site, and he seemed particularly fascinated with the palace architecture. I gave him a tour. When he found the ancient seals over a passageway in the cellar, he became very agitated. He asked for some time alone to study them, and I granted it. Shortly after, he left with no further word, and I never saw him again. Odd, don't you think?
Unbeknownst to the Desert Jewels ruler, allowing the portal to Horazon's sanctum to be opened had dire consequences for its inhabitants.
When the troubles began here, I allowed the terrified harem guilds to join me within the safety of the palace. All was fine until one night. Screams echoed up the stairwells from the harem. My guards arrived to find the poor girls being slaughtered by a merciless band of hell-spawned demons. My brave guardsmen tried to push the demons back into the mysterious rift from which they came. Ever since, my men have fought a losing battle. Demons have continued to pour through the rift into the palace. Ultimately, I hired Graze and his mercenaries to help protect the rest of my fair city. Drognin believes that the Arcane Sanctuary lies buried underneath this palace, since Lutgolain occupies the site of an ancient Vizjerei fortress. My palace is open to you now. Take care.
Drognin confirms our fears that the Sorcerer was indeed the same Jazrith of Diablo 1 fame and has been corrupted, perhaps a victim of Horazon himself.
Yes, the man you speak of sounds like the mage who came here many months ago. He claimed to have fought Diablo in the passages beneath Tristram. No doubt the fool wandered into Horazon's sanctuary and lost whatever was left of his ravaged mind. He is beyond salvation. It is possible that the fool has been possessed by the spirit of Horazon. If that's true, then you'd better put an end to his tortured existence. Once done, I believe the demons who were summoned and imprisoned within the sanctuary will cease to exist as well.
This surely is the product of a twisted mind.
What makes this all the more interesting and perhaps somber is not just the fact we're tasked with killing another hero of the first Diablo, but also if the cut content were to stand, and it was Jazrith and his party who originally cut down Horazon in his sanctum, and later he had inadvertently found a new passage into the Arcane Sanctuary, mind-addled thanks to his encounter with Diablo, and was then possessed by the Mad Summoner Horazon as retribution. However, the Arcane Sanctuary and meeting Horazon in Diablo 1 doesn't match up with these events, as it was cut from canon, but the story is nonetheless a bitter reminder of the effects of facing the Lord of Terror.
Ah, the ancient mage Horazon. He believed that he could bend evil forces to his will. What he didn't know was that evil uses man, not the reverse. The Vizjerei still revere him as a symbol of man's ability to triumph over otherworldly forces. The Church of Light, however, cites him as an example of man's folly.
Also of note is that if Horazon was a spirit, he may have sought out a host and wiped out the town if he was not quickly vanquished.
Oh, yes, I remember. There was a fellow around here many months ago who asked almost as many questions about Horazon as you. So, He discovered enough to assume Horazon's place in the Arcane Sanctuary, huh? What a fool. Horazon found it necessary to lock himself up for all time, just to protect himself from those angry demons. Such is the fate of one who practices the summoning arts. In that or eternal damnation, there's old summoners and bold summoners, but no old, bold summoners.
At the Warped Sanctuary, we find Jazrith guarding the path to Talrash's tomb, now unrecognizable, sporting gaudy attire of a self-appointed despot. It's quickly evident that he's a mere puppet of the summoner Horazon, sporting the same tortured laugh as the late mage. To kill the now mad summoner is a matter of avoiding his minions and spells such as Glacial Spike and Frost Nova, and doing as much damage as possible quickly, as perhaps a nod to his class, meta, as he is a glass cannon. Felling the summoner is bittersweet, as not even the heroes of Diablo 2 recognize his great deeds in life, as some say.
Oh, I hate staining my hands with the blood of foul sorcerers.
Good riddance, freak.
This bumbling fool cannot be the mighty Horazon. He was not Horazon. He was a deluded fool who got too close to true power.
And it seems only the sorcerer and paladin truly pitied him and his fate, and remembered his sacrifice.
Rest in peace, tortured soul.
That couldn't have been Horazon. Poor wretch.
And for all his sacrifice, the once proud sorcerer was now, like his companions, an embodiment of everything he and his order of Vizjerei mages strived to stand against, as if a final gift from the Lord of Terror himself. Regardless of the sorcerer's virtuous intent and struggles, he was reduced to, at least in the public's eye, another mad sorcerer, corrupted by his obsession for forbidden knowledge and lust for power.
I feel no pity for that would-be summoner. His terrible ambition for demonic power was his undoing. You merely hastened the inevitable.
However, it does seem that Deckard Cain, although perhaps didn't grasp the sorcerer's identity in the end, pitied the doomed practitioner, but regardless of prior relation, was a realist when it came to Jazrith's eventual fate, and that nobody escapes the everlasting ire of a prime evil.
I hope that this false summoner found peace in death. Unfortunately, it is more likely that he will be dragged down into hell by the demons he was bound to. Let this be a lesson to you. Demonic magic is a quick path, but its powers are seductive and deadly.
It should be noted, the summoner we see in Diablo 2 was not actually officially recognized in canon as the same sorcerer from Diablo 1, until nearly a decade later during BlizzCon 2011, when a single hero asked the fateful question of the devs, and it took a full minute for the answer to arrive. Enjoy.
Okay, you just mentioned about the Diablo 1 heroes were going to be Blood Raven in Diablo 2. So I'm wondering, is the Summoner also the hero from Diablo 1?
Well, I'm just the Summoner, meaning...
The guy from... Help us out here. What's the area that he's in? Arcane Sanctuary, right. Thank you.
Wasn't that, was that Horazon?
Man, we're doing great.
Yeah, the question, the Summoner was supposed to be the hero, from Diablo 1. I was just, what I was asking when you asked the question without the mic was, did we confirm that or did we hint at it? I think we confirmed it. So, yeah, I think.
That was the intent. I don't, hopefully it came across.
Good thing I'm manning a lore panel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Horazon's urinal? Oh, journal. Yes, well, glad you found it. Such a shame about those poor harem girls, huh? I shall miss them deeply. I mean, their conversations, of course.